Coming up next is Dr. Kimberly Taylor. Here's your chance to talk about what matters to you. Although you will receive helpful advice from Dr. Taylor, remember, this is not to be construed as a form of psychotherapy, diagnosis, or treatment, and cannot replace a therapeutic relationship with a mental health professional. You can reach Dr. Taylor by calling 564-1290 or toll free at 866-564-1290. You can also listen live on the internet at drkimtaylorshow.com. So here now is Dr. Kimberly Taylor.
Is anger a problem in your life? Sometimes it seems like the threat of violence is everywhere these days. Whether it's in our homes, in our schools, in our workplaces, on our roadways, on our televisions and in our movies, and even in our sporting events. Where once managing one's temper was considered to be a virtue, people seem to be losing their collective cool these days. So the question arises, are we angrier than we used to be? Now, some people would suggest we are. But more importantly, is your anger making others uncomfortable and creating distance in your relationships? Is it disrupting your ability to think clearly and to make good decisions? And is it resulting in behaviors that you later regret? Anger does have a purpose in our life, and it is designed to set off an alarm in the body and motivate us to take some action to protect ourselves against a threat or challenge or injustice. Now, the feeling of anger is really resentment over being hurt. Again, under all anger is hurt. And the longer you hold on to your hurt, the more distorted and inappropriate it will seem when you finally do release it. The reason why people try to withhold their anger is because they're afraid of being vulnerable and admitting their hurt. They think that to express their hurt makes them appear weak. And so the only feeling they're comfortable expressing is anger. But if you let the hurt fester inside and build into anger, the expression of it can seem too big, too intense, and too distorted for it to be understood in the present. It was Buddha who said, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else, but you are the one who gets burned. But properly used, anger can be effective. So how you choose to express your anger is what ultimately matters, and you have to be aware of its impact on others. Anger does have power, but there are healthy and unhealthy ways to deal with it. Used as an everyday response, anger can do bad things to your body and even your soul, not to mention what it can do to others around you. But if you show your anger at the time you are hurt, it will feel appropriate and in proportion to the present situation, and other people can more readily understand it. Being able to express your anger in an appropriate way is what we're going to talk about today. As Aristotle said, anybody can become angry. That's easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, and for the right purpose, and in the right way, now that's not easy. So I want to give you a few tips of how to control your anger. First off, I want you to own your anger. Pretending you're not angry when you are does you no good, and it can actually damage your health. So being willing to admit that you are upset validates your feelings, and this in turn helps focus you on working towards a solution. Number 2, I want you to identify the source of your anger. Remember, underneath all anger is always hurt. So ask yourself, how have I been hurt? Has someone rejected me, ignored me, criticized, or dismissed me? When you identify the hurt that's causing your anger and express that, then you no longer seem irrational. 3, here's a big one. Take a few deep breaths and then take a few more. Count to 10 or even 100. The idea is to delay your response so that you can observe your own thoughts about the situation, and in that process you'll be able to sort out why you're upset and what steps that you can take to empower yourself to work through the situation. 4, be willing to speak without blame or judgment, and listen to other people without blame or judgment. Use I statements about how you are affected instead of you statements that tends to place the other person on the defensive. Say things like, "This is why I'm so mad," not, "You're always doing this to me." 5, look for solutions that you can make instead of focusing on your anger. So if it's your child's messy room that's driving you crazy, close the door. If it's your friend who is always late, then schedule to meet them 20 minutes before you plan to arrive. Remember my old adage, no one else has to change in order for you to be better. And when you make the change, other people just have to change in response to you. The 6th one is write down your feelings, but then don't send that email. In the heat of the moment, it may sound good, but believe me, angry people tend to jump to inaccurate conclusions. So if you're in a heated exchange, the first thing you want to do is slow down and think through your responses. And lastly, if you're continually angered and so stressed out that you can't see the bigger picture, then you have to start to examine your own life and your own diet and exercise plans, as well as trying to practice mindfulness and meditation to help you deal with this stress. This is also going to be able to help you determine if your anger is really due to something deeper that could benefit from talking to a professional. There's the Chinese symbol for conflict, and it has 2 meanings: danger and opportunity. So what this means is that all conflicts offer us an opportunity to learn and grow, but it's going to depend on what your intent is here. So next time the conflict comes up and you feel yourself getting angry, ask yourself, what is your intent? Are you trying to win, to be right, to gain power or be in control? What do you think would happen if you decided to see conflict as an opportunity to learn more about yourself and the other person? It takes courage to process your own feelings rather than looking to someone else to blame or to make it better for you. And it takes courage to communicate from a place of vulnerability. So today, if you have a question, if you're dealing with anger, either yours or someone else's, and if you have a question about that and would like to call in, please feel free to call me by dialing 564-1290 or toll free at 866-564-1290. I'm going to take a quick 2-minute break and then I'll be right back to take your calls. Stay with me. I'm Kimberly Taylor and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290.
You are listening to Dr. Kimberly Taylor. You can reach her by calling 564-1290 or toll free at 866-564-1290.
This is Dr. Kim Taylor, and we're on the phone now with Helen. Hi, Helen.
Hello, Dr. Kim. I would like to talk to you a little bit about forgiveness. I have a friend who died, and she left so much pain and lies, deceit, actually. It almost feels evil to me, and I can't seem to let that memory go, to let her go on, so that it won't, I suppose, contaminate the rest of my thinking about her. I'd like to let go of it somehow, but it just seems overwhelming, the trail that she left behind her with her children.
So what is the part that does affect you? This is something she did to her children, not specifically to you, and you're very upset with her about that.
Not specifically to me. However, as I look back, I realized that she was doing this for the whole time that I knew her. She was always speaking negatively of a person who was not there, who could not defend themselves, to the point where you would sometimes begin to wonder if that other person was truly as bad as my friend said she was. If she was a drinker, as that was one of her favorite things to tell about other people. It was not true at all. So it has affected me in those ways. But I primarily think about it in relation to her children, who no longer even can speak to one another because she played them off so badly one against the other. And I do hear from them about the fact that they're still suffering from this. She even deprived them of their cultural heritage. She did not tell them where they came from. And it wasn't until after her death that they found out this whole history of deceit. I'm waving my arms around in the air, trying to show you how big it all was.
Okay. All right. But for you, it sounds like you're still holding on to all of this and you can't let it go.
Yes, but I want to. I want to let it go.
Okay.
Because I know that there's nothing further I can do about it.
Okay.
It's done now.
So just for your own peace of mind, being able to forgive her isn't really letting her off the hook. It's just letting yourself know that you're not going to be bonded or engaged with her in this way. But
then what does forgiveness mean? If I say I'm going to forgive her, but I'm actually not.
What would it mean to you to forgive her for everything that she has done?
Forgiveness means that you excuse behavior. That you say, well, that's not as bad as I thought it was.
Okay. But what I'm hearing also is that this was a friend of yours, so that you are very disappointed in her.
Yes, I am.
Okay, and that you don't have the opportunity to tell her this.
Right.
Okay. Have you, by the way, ever written a letter and just for your own doing of just to explain how hurt, how disappointed that you are in her?
No, I've never tried that. Do you think it would help?
Well, I think that it would help you because it would help you have a place to really process the feelings that you're having inside, because there's nothing like not being able to tell somebody who has hurt you, who you are frustrated and angry with, for her to, not be here for you to be able to express this, because it sounds like this is something that you would have talked to her about.
Yes, I might have, yes.
Okay, so what...
I wonder if that would be a good thing for her children to do, too.
Well, it would probably be a very good thing for her children to be able to either, whether they write this down in a letter or whether they just go to a room and talk to a chair across from them as if she was still there, and just let them know how hurt that they are by some of the things that she has done. And in the process of doing that, of letting out the anger and the resentment that then builds up, there is the possibility that some love could come back, that they can start to see her more as a whole person. And yes, she was flawed, but they would be able to get back to at least being able to see a bigger picture of her rather than just this hurt.
Would that be a form of forgiveness then, for them and for me?
Yes, because coming to terms with being able to see that oftentimes people do some of these things for their own reasons. Sometimes they think that they're doing it for the good of others. But what we have to come to is that people are flawed. They do things, they say things that hurt us. What I think the worst part is if you continue to, in your life, hold on to that level of anger or the grudge against her, because this can increase feelings of depression and anxiety in you. And not just that, but it could jeopardize future relationships that you may have because you would be holding back. So you can get so wrapped up in the past wrongs that you can't enjoy the present.
Yes, that makes sense to me, and that's why I really would like to find a way to let it go.
Well, and that's why I say that we don't do forgiveness to really let somebody off the hook, to say that we forget it and that we forgive everything that they have done. But we let them off the hook in terms that we no longer allow them to have this hold on us in the present.
Yes, right.
And so we let them go, and we let the feelings go with that person so that we can be free.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And writing that letter would help.
Writing that letter helps.
To do
yes,
that.
Yes, because it is in the process of writing it or saying it that we kind of get it outside of ourselves, and that's what you want. You want it to reside outside yourself. You could write that letter, you could read it out loud, and then go ahead and rip it up and throw it in the trash and just let it go.
And I don't have to actually say, I forgive you your sins. I can just do it this way, by just expressing it all in one place and then letting it go.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
And
I'm going to give it a try.
Okay. What I said is that sometimes in the process of doing that, of letting out all that hurt and all of the anger, you can get underneath that, and that some of the good feelings about some of the good times that you did have with her will be able to return also.
Yeah, that would be good too.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Kim. It was nice to talk to you today.
Okay. Thanks for the call.
Thank you for the help.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I'm Kimberly Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290. We're on the phone now with Jill. Hi, Jill. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Dr. Taylor. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. Dr. Taylor, the reason I was calling is wanted your opinion. I recently started a new job, and I've only been there like 3 weeks, and since then I'm starting to get calls from other employers that I had sent out my applications to, and I was interested in interviewing at one of the positions, but in order to do that, of course, I have to somehow get out of, working a day at the job that I'm at now and putting my current employer, letting them down, and I'm just not sure what the right thing to do is.
Okay, how are you feeling about the current job?
It's going well. I felt very overwhelmed the first couple weeks, but this last week was really good, and I'm starting to catch on quite a bit, and I'm feeling okay about it. I think it'll take me a few months to really decide if it's something that I love or want to keep doing, but for right now, I'd say it's going very well. Okay, so what you're saying is a part of you feels that you would be betraying your current work if you were to go and do this. Yes. Because they put so much into training me already, and, I'm just not sure if I'm just going to keep putting it in my head that there might be something else, or, I was only unemployed for a couple of weeks, so I didn't really get an opportunity to go on interviews and really see maybe what was out there for me. So, there's a part of me that really wants to do it, and there's other good things about it as far as pay and the drive. Even though it's a little longer drive, it's still, no traffic, and I think the hours are probably a little bit better, things like that. What you were saying is that you're having a little bit of buyer's remorse about taking a job so quickly, and that you only have had 2 weeks in between your last job and this new job. So you are wondering whether the grass is greener on the other side, so to speak. Yeah, that's exactly it. Okay. Is it really was it fate? Was I meant to be there? Should I just give it all I have for, a long period of time and then reevaluate? Or should I go ahead and, since this other opportunity might be open for me, at least go to the interview and see if it is something I might like better and I get an offer. Okay, let me ask you just as far as what you know about yourself. Do you have a tendency to do this where you have something that is good, but then you start to worry, is there something better? And then it starts to fill you somewhat with some self-doubt. 100% me, yes. That's totally me. I mean, with my last job, I was there many years, and I stuck with it, and I, ended up really liking it, and I was very, maybe once in 5 years did I even try to interview for something else or whatever, but I definitely have this in my past where, I'll start something, I'll think, well, maybe I'd like that better, so I jump ship, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
And if you know this is something that you do, that maybe you have to think about, what is it that's making you anxious in the current job? And is it just that you feel uncomfortable and therefore inadequate and want to run?
I definitely have felt that several times throughout the training process and everything. And like I said, this last week was really much better. I'm starting to feel more comfortable, but I know that is my pattern. That is what you're saying, brings back a lot of memories that I have done in the past where I'll start something and, it isn't comfortable at first for me. I don't learn easily, and it takes me repetition and time to usually, fully catch on. So I think that is part of it. Maybe, I think the grass is greener when really I'm just afraid that all this isn't going to come together perfectly for me.
It's okay to feel overwhelmed at first, but if in fact you picked a good place to work, that they're happy to have you, that they feel you're going to be a good part of this team, that it feels stable there, that even that there's a chance to grow and get a raise and move up, then you're going to have to go through this uncomfortable period to get the benefit at the end.
Okay, I think you really shined a light on a lot of past feelings and a lot of reasons why I might be thinking, oh, try something else, when really sometimes what you have, I guess, is the best thing for you, So, and then I know there will always be jobs out there. There's always going to be other opportunities when the timing's right.
That's right.
I guess I kind of just felt like, well, I didn't get a chance to see because I took the first thing that really came my way. So.
But was this a good choice? Was it a good place to land? Yes, it might have been quick, but was it also a good place to work?
So far, so good. I mean, they are treating me good. They're definitely giving me that chance for the learning curve. There's not. I mean, it is a lot of information, and it's been stressful for me, but I'm doing it. And so rather than run from it, I probably should just dive into it and see, like I said, reevaluate in 6 months or whatever.
Here's the good news that you might not be seeing right now is that you got employed in 2 weeks. Congratulations. You must have talent and skills there that people see and want. So you have skills that you can market out there. Just get good at what you're doing, and then in 6 months, you'll really feel more confident that you get to pick and choose where you'd like to be.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you so much. I was really struggling. Everything you just said really makes me think a lot about my past and what I do in new situations. So thank you.
Your truth is within you. Let that be your guide. Thanks very much for the call. I'm Kimberly Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290.
You are listening to Dr. Kimberly Taylor. You can reach her by calling 564-1290 or toll free at 866-564-1290.
Today we've been talking about how you can learn to manage your feelings of anger. And I often get calls from parents about how can they help their kids to learn to manage their anger. So I have some great tips from ahaparenting.com. The first one, we have to remember to teach that all feelings are allowed and only the actions need to be limited. Number 2 is parents need to set limits. Allowing feelings does not mean that we allow destructive actions. Kids should never be allowed to hit themselves or to hit others. And when they do, what they're really doing is they're asking us to set the limits and to help them contain their angry feelings. So as a parent, you want to be able to say, oh, I can see that you're really mad and that you want to strike out, but you cannot hurt others. I see how mad you are, but I'm going to keep us all safe. Your job as a parent is to be a safe container and to set those limits. Number 3 is never send a child away to calm themselves down. We have to remember that kids need our love most when they deserve it the least. And instead of having a timeout, which gives the kids the message that they're all alone with these big, scary feelings. Try a time in. And during this time, stay with your child and help them move through their feelings. You're going to be amazed at how your child is going to be able to show more self-control when you adopt this practice, because they start to feel less helpless and less alone. Number 4 is stay close and connected when your child is upset. If you know what's going on, you can acknowledge it and say, oh, I can see you're so angry because you're upset about this. You want to give them permission and say, it's okay. Everybody needs to cry or get mad sometimes. And say, I'll stay right here with you while you get all your sads and all your mads out. You're safe. I'm here. I won't leave you alone with these big, scary feelings. Number 5 is stay calm. Yelling at your angry child just reinforces what they're already feeling, which is that they're in danger. Your job is to restore calm, because kids can only learn and understand how to do better when they can be calm. So just your presence will help them to feel safe. And this is going to help them to develop the neural pathways in their own brain that shut off that fight or flight response. And then it allows the frontal cortex, or the reasoning brain, to take over. And that's how kids learn to soothe themselves. Number 6 is you want to give your child ways to manage their angry impulses in the moment. Now, most kids aren't going to want to punch a pillow or the couch. It just doesn't seem very authentic to them. But they're going to love it if you have a punching bag that they can beat up. That's going to feel good to them to kind of get those feelings out. You can teach your child to stomp their feet. With a child who's a bit older, you can suggest that they draw or write on a paper what they're angry about, and then, rip that to pieces. What you're doing here as a parent is to teach them to use their pause button. Even by teaching them breathing at this time, it's going to be helpful. Teach them to breathe in for 4 counts through their nose, and then out for 8 counts through their mouth. And this will help to teach them that they too can pause during this time. Number 7 is you want to help your child to be more aware of their own warning signs. Because once they're in the full flush of that fight or flight adrenaline rush, they do think it's an emergency and like they're fighting for their lives. So at this point, trying to manage their anger is almost impossible. What we want to do is help your child to notice when they're starting to get annoyed, when they're starting to get bothered, so that they can learn to calm themselves down and have fewer tantrums. So when they're little, you can teach them about how to know what cues to look for so that they can take some preventative action. And you can then offer to stay with them. You can say, sweetie, I can see you're getting upset right now. Let's work to make this better. Let's all calm down and figure this out. When parents are able to help their kids feel safe enough to express these feelings of anger and really explore what's underneath it, then kids in turn are able to move past their anger and move into more constructive problem-solving type of skills. And this will happen, really during the grade school years. So those are some of the tips that I think will be helpful. If you have a question about a child, or if you have a question about yourself, you can give me a call right here at 564-1290 or toll free at 866-564-1290. Also, I do want to remind you that this program will be rebroadcast tonight at 10 p.m. and Sundays at 9 a.m. And then lastly, if you could not call in today and there is something that you want to ask and there's a question that you have, I am going to be taking calls again this Sunday. You can go to my website to find out the time and the phone number. Just go to drkimtaylorshow.com. All the information is there for you to contact me on that day. So, Richard, let's take another call. I'm Kimberly Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290. This is Dr. Kim Taylor, and we're on the phone now with Jack. Hi, Jack. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Dr. Taylor. I have a question for you about support groups and your pros and cons with them. I have a few cons, and I just wanted to talk to you about that.
Okay. What kind of support group are you going to?
Well, it'd be for chronic pain.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife keeps telling me that I should go, and I just first of all, I don't like talking about my pain to other people. And I don't think I really like listening to other people because it would just drag me down with them. And I can't really see a whole lot of pros to going to a support group.
Okay. So it sounds like you have never been.
No, I've never been, no.
Okay. So one of the reasons why support groups are helpful is because when we get in the room and we start talking to other people who are experiencing the same thing that we are, somehow it just normalizes everything. And when we feel this, it helps us to deal with our own problems and know that we're not crazy, that other people can feel this too, that I'm not the only one. And support groups offer you a chance to come together with others to just share that. And there's something very healing in that process.
Okay.
I
know I'm not the only person that has this, so I don't know. I just can't seem to make it click to think it would be good for me.
Okay.
Maybe there is something in the healing, like you say. Maybe I should just try at least one.
I think that is a good way to think about this. But let's go and talk about some of the pros and then some of the cons. One of the other pros is that when someone is, let's say, dealing with pain, that they feel kind of trapped in that and out of control and at the whim of their pain. And it's a very powerless feeling sometimes.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And so what you don't realize is that by you sharing, by you being open, by you being there for someone else, you can find value and meaning and purpose once more, and in that feel more empowered. Have you ever had that situation in which you have gone to help someone else, and in the process of doing that, you felt better about yourself?
Actually, I have. I went through a detox to get off the pain pills for a while and try that, and I ended up feeling good because it seemed like I was the one out there helping people, and they were listening to me, but I was a lot better off than a lot of the other people in there. I mean, I wasn't addicted to them. I was just trying to switch up medications, but I did feel something good out of that.
Uh-huh. And when we feel better about ourselves, in any way that we do that, we actually just do better in our own lives. And when you have a more positive feeling about it and a more positive thought process about it, you just do better with whatever it is you have to handle, whether it's your own pain or whether it's anything else in your life.
Well, maybe I should at least try one.
Well, what I would say is don't just do it on one, because it's too easy to have your whole private person come out or your personal issues come out or your denial to come out. And what I would tell you to do is go and try 5.
Okay.
And just let yourself be there, and you can give yourself permission to leave if that's what you need to do at the end of 5. But just go and see what it's like.
Okay. And would I just Google search groups on the internet or
support groups?
Call the hospital or what? Do you know?
Well, there are a few ways to do that. You can certainly look it up yourself by just looking at what kind of support group that you want to go to and find one that's close to you. Also, you might look at the age groups, because sometimes they're for younger people and or sometimes they are for older people, but you can check that out too. What I can do is I can certainly give you back to Sandy, and she can give you some names of the numbers that you can try to start out with.
Oh, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'm thinking I'll try it.
Yeah.
At least check it out.
Good. One of the cons that you do need to look for is that you shouldn't be in some place that you don't feel comfortable and or that you're getting something out of it. So don't stay there if it's just so uncomfortable and you're doing it for someone else, because then it really doesn't work.
Okay. Well, I think I'll give it a try.
Okay. Sounds
Okay, thank
good.
you very much.
All right. Take care, Jack.
Okay, bye.
I'm Kimberly Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290.
You are listening to Dr. Kimberly Taylor. You can reach her by calling 564-1290 or toll free at 866-564-1290.
What I would like to do is give you 3 books that I think might be helpful on this topic of anger. The first one is for young kids, and it is called When I Feel Angry, and the author is Albert Whitman. And this is not only a great book for toddlers and preschoolers, but it's a great reminder for grown-ups too. And it is a little bunny, and they talk about that anger is really scary, but they talk about the ways to use that and to not to hurt others with it. So it is a really great book for young kids. The next book is more for 8 to 13 years old, and the title of the book is How to Take the Grr Out of Anger. And it's kind of a laugh and learn book. The author of this is Elizabeth Verdict. This is about helping kids to learn how to manage their anger, and it really speaks to them in a way that they can pick this up, and it offers strategies and ways that they can start to use this right away to deal with their own feelings. So there's lots of jokes in it, there's lots of cartoons in it, and it's really great for ages 8 through 13. It also won a prize, I believe it was the National Parenting Award in 2003, but it's still a great book to use for that. And then for adults, there's a book called The Anger Control Workbook. And the author here is Matthew McKay and Peter Rogers. And it is a workbook. You do read through it, but it does provide tools. And there's nothing I like better than having some tools for your toolkit when you need them to manage some of your feelings that come up, and especially your anger. So this is a great book to get and to have, because you're going to learn a lot of ways in which these tools are going to help you. So all 3 of these books I will have on my website, and I will post them there so you can go back there and get them, and that's at drkimtaylorshow.com. I have an email that's just come in, and the question is, what does it mean that hurt is always under anger? This is part of what I spoke about at the top of the show. And what I mean by this is that you really need to look beneath your anger and to ask yourself, how have I been hurt? Oftentimes it's because you feel rejected, maybe criticized, sometimes ignored, left out, dismissed, sometimes even misunderstood. Sometimes it's slighted, you're unappreciated, unloved, or feel unvalidated. So if you can put a voice to the pain that you feel from the hurt that you just experienced, and then tell the person who hurt you at the moment that you have been hurt, what happens then is that you can express this anger in the appropriate amount of intensity, and it feels and will be more authentic to the person that has to hear it so that they can understand what's going on. The problem with holding on to all of this hurt that then builds to anger is that if you hold it on to it long enough, then it comes out in all kinds of awkward ways where the person who is then hearing it doesn't feel like it merits whatever just happened in the present moment. What's hard about all of this is that you have to risk being vulnerable by sharing that you have been hurt. And this is what people tend to avoid by expressing their anger. Somehow anger feels like it's a safer place to be as opposed to being more open and vulnerable by sharing what's really going on with you. So try to get beneath that angry feeling, to get down to the hurt of what has just happened. And it's really going to help you to not only be able to express yourself more clearly in the present, but also not have to hold on to this for long periods of time. And in fact, then it turns around to hurt you. So I have one more email. Let's see if we can get to that one. This is, Dear Dr. Kim, I will soon be graduating with a bachelor's from UCSB. I know I need to begin to send out resumes to gain employment, but I feel overwhelmed by the options. And my parents are frustrated with me that I'm not making more strides. I think it is an anxiety issue. They see it as me being lazy and irresponsible. I am confused because sometimes I'm really excited about starting my career and other times I really don't care. I don't understand why this is so hard for me. What do you think? Is this an anxiety problem or a motivation problem? Maybe my family needs to come to therapy. Laughing out loud. This is from Robin. Well, this is the time of year. You're not the only one in this boat. There are lots of people that are getting out of school right now and not having a clue about what they are going to do and feeling very overwhelmed by the fact of all that they now need to do to find a job and to learn to take care of themselves and to get out there in the world. So what I would say to you first is just know that this anxiety is just part of the process. Anxiety is all about fear. And it's there to kind of warn us that there's a possible danger due to the risk that you are going to be taking. So whenever we have a goal, you have to realize that's taking a risk because we're saying, I want something. And whenever you want something, you have to be willing to walk through that anxiety that comes up right after you say, I want. What I'd like you to do is think about this as let it just be your first step in the process, and not the place that you end. You will have to keep reassuring yourself over and over that you're safe. Tell yourself that you're brave, that you're going to keep moving forward, just taking one step at a time, doing what you can do to work towards that goal. And if you can do that in the moment and keep doing that moment after moment, you will get there. So just think about it this way. Rome was built brick by brick, but eventually you stood back and there was Rome. So this is the same with trying to reach our goals. Just take it a step at a time. Know that you're going to be anxious, but what you want is right past that. We'll be right back after the break. I'm Kimberly Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290. Well, as we're coming to a close here, I really want to make this point very clear. Anger is a completely normal emotion. The point in talking about anger is that if your anger has become disruptive, whether it's to your job or in your personal life, or if it is affecting your health in some way, then it's time to look at some of the tips that I've put out here and really start to work on yourself to help to decrease that. There are a lot of tools that you can use. There are a lot of ways that you can decrease this so it will improve not only your health, but all the other relationships in your life. So follow the tips that we talked about. First, acknowledge your feelings of anger. And then ask yourself, how have you been hurt? Again, under all anger is hurt. And when you're able to express this in the moment that you're feeling it, you will get to the truth of what's going on and be able to resolve it a lot more quickly. The next one is really be willing to diffuse your anger by taking a break. You want to slow down. You want to take a pause. You want to be able to think through how you're going to respond. And next, be willing to put some distance between the act and your response. So if that means taking a walk, counting to 10, whatever it is that you need to do, you're going to feel a lot better about yourself if you first think it through. And don't forget to make the I statements. Be willing to listen to the other person. And lastly, decide if this issue is really that important in the bigger scheme of things. Oftentimes, it's not. So if you have questions or if you would like to call in next week, I am going to be here on Thursday between 2 and 3, as I am each week. We all have problems in our life, and we can all use a bit of help. So I really encourage you to call in with yours and see if we can't help you to get on the right path. If you'd also like to send me an email, you can go to Dr. Kim at drkimtaylorshow.com. Also, you can tune in on Thursday evenings at 10 for the rebroadcast, at 10 p.m. for the rebroadcast, and Sundays at 9 a.m. You can also listen to this program by going to iTunes and downloading it as a podcast. So what I want to remind you all is to have a great week. I will be here next week, and until then, be good to yourself. And remember, nobody else has to change in order for you to get better. I'll see you here next Thursday.